Well, I think PRMIA has got a great opportunity at the moment. There's been a great financial crisis, as you well know. Actually, Ireland, Britain, right on our own doorstep, etc., and in the United States. And I think the crisis was actually due to a failure in risk management. I know supervisors saying lack of capital or lack of liquidity, which are part of risk management. And I think PRMIA as an objective organization could actually be absolutely critical in that. PRMIA, in my view, could be the institution that represents neutrality. It doesn't take the regulator's side or the banks or insurers, but it could have a view about how risk ought to be managed. So this is the opportunity to actually grow PRMIA into that institution. I mean, do you know, Justin, that actually PRMIA said nothing since the crisis? Now, can you imagine a similar situation, say, if there was a train crash, etc.? You'd expect someone that's an expert in engineering to have a comment about it. But PRMIA said nothing. So it's to improve, enhance our ability to influence, the industry. No. Well, I'm pretty impressed with a lot of the speakers. If we look at, say, Robert Mark talking about standards of practice, certainly that was something missing. Listening to all the technologists, etc., I think it's very important because technology is a core component. We didn't get into human capital and training that I think PRMIA could get into, but certainly I enjoyed listening to people talk about what is the optimal processes we need in our financial institutions worldwide, and what it takes to build proper architectural, engineering principles. I link that all up with the new regulation we trying to put in place, I'd say, as a global regulatory community, and that is the ability to resolve firms. You can't resolve firms if you don't know where the data is or you don't know where the transactions are. Right. Well, firstly, just to understand it, in using any software or IT, still, people make the decisions. So it would be only a piece in the value chain. That's point number one. Point number two, obviously, I think to make things more efficient is good, etc. But on the other hand, I'm having difficulty in my reconciliation between compliance and risk. I guess compliance is the law. You have to do it because that's what the law says. The law doesn't necessarily mean good risk management principles. So while I like the idea that you could basically come up with a good manufacturing process for compliance, okay, I'd like it to lean much more to risk management, to actively manage risk, rather than have a piece of paper or some electronic spreadsheet sitting at the regulators. Because then you're just doing it because you're regarding regulation as the risk, whereas you've got your own problems in-house.